He walked away when she refused to give up their baby. Years later, he sees her thriving, with twins, and suddenly his pride can't stop him from wanting her back. But is it too late? Hello beautiful souls and welcome to Ms. Love Stories channel. The place where love, drama, and unforgettable moments come alive. I'm so thrilled you're here. Ready to dive into stories that will make your heart race, bring tears, and leave you believing in the power of love. Before we begin, I want to get to know all of you. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from, because in the next video, I'll give a special shout out to some of you amazing viewers from around the world. I can't wait to see how far our love story family reaches. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, so you never miss a single emotional journey. Get ready to feel, laugh, cry, and fall in love all over again, because every story we share here is for you. Today's shout-out goes to Sandra from Canada and Artie Shockley from Dallas. Now, the story begins. Rose. The morning sun filtered through the lace curtains, painting the small apartment in golden light. Martha moved quietly around the kitchen, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared breakfast for her two energetic twins, Lily and Noah. The scent of freshly baked bread mingled with the faint perfume of the wildflowers on the windowsill. A small luxury she allowed herself, a fragment of peace in a life that hadn't been easy. She smiled as the twins laughed, chasing each other around the living room, their tiny feet thumping against the hardwood floor. Her heart swelled with a bittersweet mix of love and exhaustion. Every decision she had made, especially the hardest one, had led to this moment. It had been years since Daniel, the billionaire CEO who had once promised her the world, walked away because she refused to terminate the pregnancy. She had carried that child alone, battled judgment, and faced the endless challenges of single motherhood. And now, seeing her children thrive despite it all, a quiet pride settled deep in her chest. Yet even in these peaceful mornings, a shadow lingered. A shadow of what could have been. She caught herself glancing at the empty chair at the kitchen table, a subtle ache reminding her of the man who had left. I did the right thing, she whispered to herself, trying to convince the part of her heart that still ached for him. Several miles away, in the towering glass and steel headquarters of Daniel's empire, he sat behind a sleek mahogany desk, staring at a photograph that had been tucked away in an old drawer. A photo of Martha, radiant and full of life, pregnant with the child he had abandoned. His office smelled of leather and rich espresso, yet no luxury could mask the gnawing emptiness inside. Daniel had always believed that power and control could solve everything, that wealth could protect him from pain, but nothing had prepared him for the void that her absence left. He sipped his coffee, his hand trembling slightly, uncharacteristic for a man used to commanding boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. The news had come unexpectedly. A mutual acquaintance had told him that Martha was not only alive but thriving with twins. The image of her laughter, the sound of two children calling her mommy, invaded his thoughts relentlessly. For the first time in years, Daniel realized something he hadn't admitted even to himself. He had lost the only woman who had ever truly mattered. And now, the truth was inescapable. I should have never walked away, he muttered under his breath. The echo of regret was sharp, cutting deeper than any business failure ever could. Martha and Daniel existed in parallel worlds. Her mornings filled with laughter, mundane chaos, and small victories. His days dominated by meetings, power, and an unshakable sense of loss. Neither knew how close their paths would soon cross again. Yet the threads of fate were pulling them toward the inevitable collision. Martha's eyes lingered on the mirror as she brushed her hair, catching a glimpse of herself, stronger, independent, but undeniably marked by past heartbreak. Daniel, in his high-rise office, stared at the city below, realizing that the empire he had built could never fill the emptiness she left behind. In a quiet moment, both felt the same unspoken longing, a desire not just to reconnect, but to understand what love really meant after years of choices, pride, and missed opportunities. Later that afternoon, Daniel's assistant handed him a file. A corporate event, a charity gala for single mothers and children, where the company was sponsoring a large donation. He scanned the guest list and his breath caught. There she was. Martha's name, accompanied by mother of twins, stood out like a beacon. His chest tightened. His pride wrestled with longing. His mind screamed caution. but a deep, unrelenting pull urged him forward. At the same time, Martha was preparing the twins' outfits for the same event, unaware of Daniel's presence. Her heart buzzed with excitement for the gala. A chance to showcase her work for the Children's Foundation. She had no inkling that the man who once abandoned her would be standing in the same room, watching her flourish. The scene closed with the twins giggling, holding her hands tightly, while Daniel stared from a distance, a storm of emotions crossing his face. Regret, longing, and the first flicker of hope. Comment below if you believe love can survive betrayal and time. Would you forgive someone like Daniel? The gala hall shimmered under crystal chandeliers. Soft classical music floated across the room, mingling with the scent of roses and polished wood. Martha guided the twins by the hand, their tiny faces lit with excitement. She adjusted Lily's bow and ruffled Noah's hair with a gentle smile, trying to steady her own nerves. "This is going to be fun, Mommy," Lily whispered, clutching her mother's skirt. "Yes, sweetheart. Just enjoy yourself," Martha replied, her voice steady but betraying a flutter of anxiety. She had no idea that the universe had other plans. Meanwhile, Daniel arrived impeccably dressed, exuding wealth and authority. But his usual confidence was tempered by tension. His eyes scanned the room, noting every familiar face, until they fell on a small cluster near the entrance. And then he saw her. Martha, radiant and composed, holding two children who looked just like miniature versions of her, his children. Time seemed to halt. Daniel's heart pounded against his chest. The memory of the day he walked away, cold, prideful, thoughtless, came rushing back in a wave of guilt and longing. Martha's laughter, soft and melodic, drew him in, and for a moment, Daniel felt paralyzed. He wanted to speak, to run, to hide, all at once. But the sight of his children, laughing freely and reaching for her hands, shattered the final walls of his pride. Martha's eyes met his, and in that instant, recognition sparked. A flicker of alarm crossed her face, followed by a guarded composure. "Daniel," she whispered under her breath, almost to herself. He stepped closer, keeping his distance, voice low yet raw with emotion. "Martha, it's been a long time." The twins, sensing the tension, clung to her, curiosity shining in their eyes. "Mommy, who's that?" Noah asked innocently. Martha swallowed, forcing a gentle smile. "Someone from my past, darling. Let's go say hello politely." Daniel took a cautious step forward. Every nerve in his body screamed to apologize, to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but words felt inadequate. The space between them was electric, heavy with unsaid emotions. Regret, longing, and love that had never truly died. "You look amazing," he finally said, voice low. "You, the twins, everything." Martha's eyes narrowed slightly, wary yet soft. "Thank you. We've been doing well." Her words were careful, measured, protecting her heart from a man who had once abandoned it. Daniel felt a stab of pain. "I don't expect anything. I just needed to see you. To see them." A silent beat passed. The twins, unaware of the tension, tugged at Martha's hands. Daniel's heart melted seeing them, seeing the life he could have had with her. Then almost instinctively he knelt down. "Hello, little ones. I'm Daniel," he said, voice shaking slightly. I wish I'd been here sooner." Lily tilted her head, studying him carefully. Noah reached for him hesitantly. Martha's stomach tightened. This wasn't just an encounter. It was a mirror of the past, a reminder of what was lost and what could never fully be reclaimed. The gala's music faded into the background as their eyes locked again. Martha's chest heaved, emotions warring inside her. Anger, pride, longing, fear. She could feel the old hurt clawing its way back, but so did the part of her that had always loved him. Daniel's hands shook slightly, and for the first time, the powerful, untouchable CEO felt small, vulnerable, human. I made a mistake, Martha. A huge one. Leaving you, leaving them, leaving us," he admitted, voice thick. Martha's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Do you know what it felt like to carry your child alone? To face the world without your support?" Her voice cracked slightly, betraying her pain. "I protected them. I did everything for them. And you chose your empire over your family." Silence. The twins clung to her skirt, their small eyes wide, feeling the tension. Daniel's shoulders slumped. I know. And I can never take back the past. But seeing you, I realize that some things, some people, are worth more than everything I've built. The air between them was charged. Neither wanted to speak further, yet neither could look away. Their history, their love, betrayal, longing, was condensed into that single moment. Martha felt the pull of old emotions, the echo of love that had never left her heart. Daniel felt the weight of guilt and desire entwined, the need to make amends battling with the fear of rejection. The gala faded around them, the clinking of glasses, the soft chatter, the distant piano, all irrelevant compared to the storm brewing in their hearts. Martha exhaled slowly. We need to figure this out. For them, she said quietly, nodding toward the twins. Daniel's voice was barely audible. Yes, for them. And in that charged moment, the story's emotional core landed. The past had collided with the present. The pain of abandonment met the unexpected joy of life thriving. And now both had no choice but to confront the unresolved tension. Comment below. If you were Daniel, would you fight for a second chance after all these years? Later that evening, Martha tucked Lily and Noah into bed. Their soft breathing and warm little hands clinging to hers should have been comforting, but tonight, they felt like chains. She sank into the armchair, rubbing her temples. The memory of Daniel's eyes, the way his voice cracked, the children recognizing him, it all churned inside her. I can't let him back in, she whispered to herself, her fingers trembling as they traced the edge of a picture frame of the twins' first birthday. Pride, fear, and past hurt mingled into a bitter cocktail. She had survived without him for years. She had protected her children, built a life on her own. And yet, the sight of Daniel, the man who once left her, had reopened old wounds she thought were sealed. She replayed every scenario in her head. What if he only wanted to see the children for himself? What if he wanted to hurt her again? The questions were endless, and the answers offered no comfort. Across the city, Daniel sat in his sleek apartment overlooking the glittering skyline. The empire he had built felt hollow tonight. He replayed the gala scene over and over. Martha's measured smile, the tension in her gaze, the twins' laughter. He wanted to call her, to explain, to beg for forgiveness. But pride, fear, and guilt all clashed in his chest. What if she rejected him outright? What if years of absence had built a wall too high to scale? I can't push too hard, he muttered, staring at his hands. If she says no, I have to accept it. Yet, despite his rational mind, his heart ached, a persistent drumbeat that refused to be silenced. The thought of never holding the twins, never feeling Martha's presence again, clawed at him relentlessly. The following days brought complications. Daniel's business world collided with his personal life when his assistant informed him that the foundation hosting the gala had requested a follow-up meeting with Martha and the children for sponsorships. He realized that fate, or circumstance, was forcing their proximity, whether he liked it or not. Meanwhile, Martha's colleagues noticed her distraction, her mind clearly elsewhere, and whispered that Daniel appeared at the gala. The tension built invisibly, yet palpably. Both characters were being nudged toward each other by external forces, unable to escape. And yet, internally, they resisted, not just each other, but the vulnerability their hearts demanded. A week later, their paths crossed again, this time at the foundation's office. Daniel arrived with a folder of proposals, Martha managing the twins' activities in the corner. He approached cautiously, holding out a hand. Martha, hi. She nodded curtly, folding her arms. Daniel. Her tone was polite but cold, a wall between them. He noticed the subtle changes, the way she carried herself, the quiet authority in her voice, the calm energy with the twins. She had grown stronger, more independent. The reality of what he had lost hit harder than ever. You're amazing, he said softly, almost to himself. Martha's gaze flicked to him sharply. I've had to be. For them. Silence stretched between them, loaded with unspoken words and old hurt. Each knew the other wanted to bridge the gap, but neither was willing, or able, to make the first vulnerable move. That night, Martha sat alone in her living room, the twins asleep. She thought about Daniel's words, the way he had looked at her, the quiet longing in his eyes. Her heart ached with the pull of old love, but her mind was a fortress. "I can't let him in again," she said aloud, gripping a small toy in her hand. "I won't let him break me again." Meanwhile, Daniel wrestled with his own turmoil in his penthouse. The memory of the twins' innocent eyes haunted him. He knew he wanted to fight, to rebuild what he had lost, but fear of rejection and the weight of past mistakes chained him in place. Both were caught in a paradox. Their hearts wanted to reach out, yet their minds demanded caution. Days passed with small encounters, coffee shop glimpses, charity meetings, brief phone calls about logistics. Each interaction was loaded with tension, each word chosen carefully, each silence speaking volumes. Martha noticed his attention, but her pride wouldn't allow her to show relief or longing. Daniel felt the pull of proximity, but his pride prevented him from making the next move. The audience is left on the edge. Both want reconciliation, both fear it. The tension becomes palpable, making the eventual spark of connection the more satisfying. Comment below. Should Martha forgive Daniel now? Or is some heartbreak too deep to mend? It started as a simple plan. Martha had agreed to attend a week-long corporate retreat with the foundation, bringing Lily and Noah along to engage with children's programs. She expected professionalism, routine, and distance, but fate had other plans. When Daniel's company unexpectedly partnered with the foundation, he was assigned to oversee sponsorships at the same retreat. The emails arrived simultaneously. Both were booked for the same accommodations, same schedule, same workshops. Martha stared at her laptop, lips pressed tight. "Of course," she muttered, rubbing her forehead. "Of course this would happen." She glanced down at the twins, busy unpacking their toys in the small cabin assigned to her family. "We'll make the best of it," she whispered, forcing cheerfulness into her voice, though a storm brewed inside. Meanwhile, Daniel read his itinerary, jaw tightening as he saw Martha's name and cabin number. "Great," he muttered to himself. "Fate is relentless." The first morning was torturous. Breakfast in the shared lodge's dining hall placed them at adjacent tables, separated by no more than a thin wooden partition. The twins ran ahead, laughing, their carefree energy a stark contrast to the tense, cautious adults. Martha avoided Daniel's gaze, focusing on pouring cereal for Noah and Lily. Daniel sat stiffly, staring at his coffee, noting every detail. The curve of her smile when she laughed at the twins' antics, the subtle glow in her skin from morning sun, the way her hands moved with precision and care. For the first hour, they coexisted in silence, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Each word could ignite a spark, or a flame. Finally, Daniel broke the quiet. "You've done well. Really well. The twins, they're amazing." Martha's hand froze mid-pour. "Thank you," she said, voice guarded. "We've managed." "Managed?" he asked softly, leaning forward. "You've thrived. You're incredible." She avoided his gaze again, turning her attention to Lily, who had grabbed a spoon, and was about to create a cereal disaster. "I have to keep them alive first," she muttered. The conversation ended there, but the tension lingered like electricity in the air. By midday, a sudden storm forced everyone indoors. The retreat's outdoor activities were canceled, leaving children, parents, and sponsors in the main lodge. All the cabins had flooded from the rain, and the retreat organizers scrambled for temporary sleeping arrangements. Martha and the twins were moved to Daniel's cabin. There was no alternative. Daniel's chest tightened as he opened the door, trying to suppress the surge of old emotions. You'll have to share the space," he said awkwardly. Martha's jaw tightened, her lips pressing into a thin line. "Of course," she replied, stepping inside with the twins. The cabin was modern, sleek, and intimate, a far cry from her modest apartment. Every polished surface reflected memories of a past she had tried to bury. For a moment, silence filled the room. Lily and Noah scampered about, claiming a corner of the cabin for their toys. The children's laughter, innocent and untamed, both softened and intensified the emotional tension between the adults. That evening, Daniel and Martha were forced to prepare dinner together due to a shortage of staff. At first, every movement was stiff and calculated, he chopping vegetables, she stirring a pot, both avoiding eye contact. But little things began to slip. Daniel handed her a knife carefully. "Here, it's safer." His hand brushed hers. She flinched slightly but didn't pull away entirely. The twins ran around, Lily tugging at Daniel's pant leg. "Daddy?" she asked innocently, making both adults freeze. Martha's cheeks flamed with embarrassment and caution. "No, that's not." Daniel's voice softened. "I'm not your dad. But I want to be part of your lives." His words were simple, vulnerable, raw. Martha looked at him, searching his eyes. For the first time, she saw a man stripped of pride, a man capable of regret and humility. Her heart stirred, a mix of anger, longing, and something she hadn't felt in years. Later that night, the twins were asleep, exhausted from the day's chaos. Martha sat in the cabin's small lounge, tracing the rim of her mug, staring at the muted rain outside. Daniel entered quietly, not wanting to disturb her. He settled into a chair opposite her, the space between them charged with unspoken emotion. "I hate this," Martha said suddenly, breaking the silence. "I hate that I still feel something. I hate that seeing you now, after everything, you still affect me." Daniel swallowed hard. "I hate that I left. I hate that I let my pride destroy what we had. I've thought about this every day, every single day. And now being here, I don't know how to fix it. I just know I have to try." Her hands trembled slightly. "You can't just step back into our lives after years of absence, Daniel. You can't expect forgiveness to be easy." "I don't," he admitted softly. "I just want a chance. That's all I'm asking." For a long while, they sat in silence, the rain pattering against the windows like a heartbeat connecting them. It was a quiet intimacy, forced by circumstance, yet opening the door to healing. Over the next few days, sharing the cabin forced small moments of bonding. Daniel helping the twins with schoolwork, his patience and gentle humor surprising Martha. Martha letting him teach Lily to draw, watching as his pride melted into warmth. Quiet walks in the lodge's small garden under umbrellas, tentative conversations about dreams, hopes, and past mistakes. Each moment chipped away at the walls of pride and fear. Neither could deny the pull, the spark of familiarity, the comfort of shared history, and the undeniable connection that circumstance had forced them to acknowledge. Comment below. Could forced proximity like this rekindle love? Would you give a second chance after betrayal? The morning sunlight streamed through the cabin's window, dust motes dancing in the golden light. The twins were busy coloring in their little activity corner, laughing as crayons squeaked across paper. Martha and Daniel sat opposite each other at the small table, coffee steaming between them. A stack of papers lay forgotten near Daniel, proposals, contracts, and photographs for the foundation. But one photograph had slipped out. An old picture of Martha, heavily pregnant, holding her belly with a distant, determined look in her eyes. Daniel noticed her reaction immediately. Her eyes lingered, misting over. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her voice sharp, almost offensive. Daniel hesitated, his heart pounding. It was in the archives of the foundation. Someone must have sent it during the gala follow-up. Martha stared at the photo. I didn't want anyone to see that," she whispered. "Not him. Not anyone." Daniel swallowed hard, sensing that this was a door into her past she had long tried to keep closed. "Martha, I want to understand," he said softly. "I need to know everything. Not to judge, not to fix, just to understand." Martha took a deep breath, her hands clutching the mug in front of her. The twins' laughter seemed distant, like a soft echo of a life she had been protecting. I couldn't abort the baby," she began, her voice trembling. "I knew you wanted me to, and I loved you. I really did. But I couldn't betray them, our child. Even if it meant losing you." Daniel's chest tightened, guilt twisting like a knife. I thought I was protecting us," he murmured. "I thought money, power, stability. I thought I could provide more by walking away. But all I did was leave you alone with everything." She shook her head. "You don't understand," she said softly, tears threatening to fall. "It wasn't easy. I was scared. I was alone. People judged me. Family shunned me. I had to fight every single day for them. And for myself." Daniel's hand hovered above hers, hesitant, uncertain. "And now they're amazing," he said quietly, looking at Lily and Noah playing in the corner. "Just like their mother." Martha's lips pressed into a thin line. "You think seeing them makes it okay?" You think seeing me now erases the years of absence. No, it doesn't. But it makes me realize everything I lost, Daniel admitted. Martha's expression softened, but only slightly. I had help, she continued. A few friends, neighbors, but mostly it was me and them. I worked nights, days, sacrificed, everything to make sure they had a life. And all the while, I carried a hole where you should have been. Daniel's throat tightened. I never realized. I was blind, he whispered. I didn't see your struggle. I didn't see your courage. I only saw my fear, my pride. And I left. Her eyes glistened, tears slipping down. And when you walked away, I buried the hurt deep. I told myself I was strong, that I didn't need you. But seeing you tonight, hearing your voice, it's like it all comes flooding back. Daniel reached across the table, finally letting his hand brush hers. It was tentative, almost afraid, but the touch carried years of longing, regret, and unspoken love. The morning unfolded into an intimate conversation. Daniel shared fragments of his own backstory. Pressures from his family, the unrelenting demands of wealth, the fear of vulnerability that had driven him away. I thought leaving was protecting you from me, he confessed. But I only protected myself, from feeling small, from feeling exposed, from the one thing I could never control, love. Martha listened, her eyes never leaving his face. She could see the cracks in his armor, the humanity she had loved but also feared. You were scared, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. And that's human. But you left me to be brave alone. And that broke something inside me. Daniel nodded, swallowing hard. I know. And I'll never forgive myself. But if you let me, I want to try to heal that. To be here for you and for them. To make things right, however I can. The twins wandered over, sensing the tension. Lily tugged Daniel's sleeve. Daddy, play. Martha's eyes widened. Mommy, they're calling him Daddy, she muttered, half laughing, half choked with emotion. Daniel knelt down, smiling awkwardly. If you'll let me, he said gently, I'd love to play. The children's laughter filled the cabin, echoing against the walls, softening Martha's heart despite years of anger and fear. She watched him, finally seeing the man she once loved, not the CEO who left her, but the vulnerable, loving father and partner he could be. It was a small moment, almost ordinary, but monumental in its emotional significance. Walls were beginning to crumble. Trust, tentative but real, began to form. Martha's defenses, though far from gone, softened. Daniel had seen her struggle, her strength, her fears. And she had glimpsed his vulnerability, his regret, and the depth of love he still carried for her and their children. The cabin, once a place of awkward tension, became a space of confession, understanding, and shared grief. Every story they shared, every memory they revealed, wove a thread of connection between them, fragile but undeniable. Martha's voice trembled as she whispered, I don't know if we can fix everything, but maybe we can start. Daniel's eyes glistened, hope flickering. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll wait as long as I have to, because I can't lose this again. Comment below. Could a person really change after years apart? Should Martha give Daniel a chance now? The sun rose over the retreat, casting golden light across the cabin. Martha stirred from a light sleep to the sound of laughter. Lily and Noah were rolling across the small living area with Daniel, building a fort from couch cushions and blankets. Mommy, look. Daddy's stuck. Lily shouted as Daniel pretended to be trapped beneath the fortress. Martha leaned against the doorframe, a soft smile tugging at her lips. The sight struck her heart. Years of fear, longing, and anger softened by the simplicity of joy. Daniel's laughter was full, genuine, unguarded. She realized how much she had missed this. The warmth, the playfulness, the man who had been a part of her life before pride tore them apart. Daniel caught her gaze and gave a small, shy smile, a silent acknowledgement that she was watching, that she mattered. The air between them shifted subtly, less tension, more possibility. Over the next few days, forced proximity turned into shared routines. Daniel helped with meals, guided the twins through craft activities, and even stayed up late reading bedtime stories. Martha noticed the subtle changes. He wasn't just present physically, he was mentally and emotionally engaged. You know, she said one evening while washing dishes together. "I didn't think you could ever handle twins." Daniel laughed softly, a deep, warm sound that made her heart skip. "I was afraid, but they make it easy. You make it easy." Her lips curved into a reluctant smile. "Easy, huh? That's a new word for my life these days." "Maybe life doesn't have to be hard all the time," he murmured, his gaze lingering on hers, searching for permission to be closer. The simple exchange carried layers of vulnerability, slowly eroding the walls both had built. One rainy afternoon, the twins were napping. Martha and Daniel sat by the fireplace, wrapped in blankets, sipping tea. The fire crackled softly, the only sound aside from the gentle tapping of rain against the windows. "I never told you," Daniel began, hesitating, "how much it hurt me to leave. I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was doing the right thing. But it was the wrongest decision I've ever made." Martha's eyes glistened. "I know. I've known you were scared. I just didn't understand it then. I was too proud, too hurt." Silence hung between them, but it was different this time. Not heavy with fear, but soft, reflective, and intimate. Daniel reached for her hand again. This time, she let him hold it without flinching. "I want to try if you'll let me," he whispered, his thumb tracing her knuckles. Martha exhaled slowly, the tension easing. I think we can start." By midweek, small, joyful moments began to replace guarded interactions. Daniel made a pancake disaster in the kitchen. The twins squealed with delight while Martha laughed until tears streamed down her face. A hiking trip in the retreat's forest brought playful competition. Daniel and Martha racing the twins to the creek, ending in a mud-covered, giggling heap. Quiet talks by the fire at night, revealing fears, dreams, and hopes for the future, built emotional intimacy without pressure. These light-hearted moments were crucial. They reminded both characters that love isn't only built on passion or sorrow, but on shared joy, laughter, and trust. One evening, Daniel walked Martha to the cabin door after a long day of retreat activities. The twins were asleep, exhausted from adventure and play. The air was crisp, scented with rain-soaked pine and earth. "Martha," he began, hesitant, "I know I don't deserve it, but I love you. I have always loved you. And I know I hurt you, but I want a chance to make it right." Martha looked at him, seeing the raw sincerity and vulnerability in his eyes. Her heart ached, torn between the pain of the past and the hope of a future. "I love you too," she admitted softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it won't be easy. You can't just erase the years and pretend everything's fine." "I don't expect easy," Daniel replied, voice thick with emotion. "I only want to be here, to be present for you, for the twins, for us." It was a moment of fragile trust, a tentative step toward reconnection. Over the next day, the twins began to actively seek Daniel's attention, hugging him freely, asking him to play, even whispering secrets in his ear. Martha watched, heart full, seeing the bond growing between father and children. Daniel's protective instincts and gentle nature made him not just a visitor, but a part of the family. Martha noticed herself smiling more, laughing more, and leaning into his presence without thinking twice. Comment below. Do you think love can really heal after years of pain? Would you give a second chance to someone who truly changed? The morning at the retreat began with sunlight streaming through misty windows, but inside the cabin, the atmosphere was tense. Daniel received an urgent phone call from a business associate regarding a high-profile merger. The call was fraught with stress, deadlines, and legal pressure. Martha, passing by, overheard part of the conversation. "They're saying what?" she asked quietly, curious but cautious. Daniel, overwhelmed, didn't notice her standing there. "If we don't finalize this merger today, the company could lose billions," he said, his voice sharp with tension. Martha's chest tightened. From what she overheard, she misinterpreted his words, assuming he was about to leave, again, for business, prioritizing empire over family. Her mind raced, replaying the years of absence. "You're leaving again?" she asked quietly, but the sharp edge in her voice caught him off guard. Daniel froze. "What? No, Martha." But she was already pulling away, retreating to her corner with the twins, her pride and fear closing the door he had worked so hard to open. Later that day, the retreat coordinator requested Daniel to escort Martha and the twins to a charity gala reception. A public event that required appearances and speeches. Martha interpreted this as Daniel trying to control or showcase her. A subtle manipulation to assert his presence over her life. Her defenses skyrocketed. "I don't need you to protect me," she snapped quietly as they prepared to leave. "I've managed fine without you for years, Daniel. Don't think this." "I'm not trying to control you," he interjected, voice low but firm. "I want to be here, with you. With them. I'm not leaving." Her jaw tightened. "You say that, but everything else screams otherwise." The tension was almost palpable, like a storm about to break. At the gala, a business rival of Daniel's, someone aware of his emotional entanglement, made a pointed remark in front of several guests. "You must be proud of your little family now," the rival said slyly to Daniel. "But I'd hate for your empire to crumble while you play house." Daniel's expression darkened, and in the heat of the moment his pride flared. He didn't realize Martha overheard part of the comment, misinterpreting it as Daniel placing his empire over their lives again. "See? That's exactly what I mean," Martha snapped, pulling the twins away. "You care more about business than us. I've been wrong to trust you." Daniel's heart sank. "No. Martha, you're misunderstanding, please." But words failed. The twins sensed tension and whimpered softly, adding a layer of urgency to the fractured emotions. Back at the cabin, Martha paced with the twins in her arms. Her mind replayed years of abandonment, Daniel's earlier business interruptions, and now this latest public embarrassment. Daniel tried to approach her. "Martha, I promise, it's not what it looks like." "I can't," she exclaimed, voice breaking. "I can't do this. I can't let myself get hurt again. I've survived on my own for years. I won't risk it again." Her words cut through him like a blade. All the progress they had made, the laughter, the bonding, the moments of trust, felt shattered in an instant. He fell silent, watching her retreat emotionally as well as physically, realizing that sometimes love alone isn't enough to fix years of fear and pride. That night, the twins slept, exhausted from the gala's excitement, leaving the cabin eerily quiet. Daniel sat in the lounge, staring blankly at the muted fire. Pride, regret, and helplessness warred within him. He had wanted to protect, to love, to rebuild. Yet every action seemed to push her further away. Martha sat on the opposite side of the room, her arms crossed, tears welling in her eyes. She loved him, but her heart remembered every scar, every moment of abandonment. Trust was fragile, and now it felt shattered. Neither spoke. The silence was heavy, almost suffocating, a tangible representation of their fractured emotional world. The final blow came the next morning. Daniel received an urgent business summons, a corporate emergency requiring his immediate return to the city. He rushed to Martha, intending to explain, to reassure her that he wasn't abandoning them, but she misunderstood once again. "You're leaving," she shouted, fear and pain mingling. "Just like before." "I'm not leaving you, I swear." Daniel tried to reach her, but Martha's hands pushed him away. The twins clung to her legs, sensing the tension and crying softly. Comment below. Could love survive this level of misunderstanding and heartbreak? What would you do if you were Martha or Daniel? The morning after the shattering gala confrontation dawned gray and quiet. Rain still drizzled outside the cabin windows, creating a muted soundtrack to the heavy silence inside. Martha sat on the edge of the bed, cradling Lily in her lap while Noah curled against her side. The twins were sleepy and still, sensing the tension in the air. Every small movement, every quiet breath seemed weighted with the aftermath of yesterday. Daniel sat in the lounge, staring at his hands. He replayed every interaction, every misstep, every word that had pushed Martha away again. Pride, guilt, and fear intertwined. He longed to call out to her, to reach across the divide, but he knew that words alone weren't enough this time. The silence was thick with unsaid truths, with hearts that desperately wanted to reconnect, but were paralyzed by fear of being hurt again. Martha's mind raced. She thought of the years she had spent alone, raising twins, building a life without Daniel. She remembered every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every time she had told herself she was strong enough to survive without him. And yet, her heart ached with the same longing she had felt years ago. Seeing Daniel at the retreat, helping with the twins, laughing, showing care. It all pulled at her like a tide she couldn't resist. Could I trust him again? She asked herself. Could I risk my heart and theirs if he leaves again? Her hand brushed over Lily's hair. The thought of her children seeing their father in pain, or losing him again, made her chest tighten. Love, fear, and hope clashed violently in her mind. Finally, she whispered to herself, almost like a prayer. I have to choose. I can't keep living in fear. But can I forgive him? Meanwhile, Daniel paced the cabin, fighting his own demons. The merger he had been called back for could wait. Nothing mattered more than the possibility of losing Martha and the twins again. I failed them once. I can't fail them again, he thought. But what if she refuses? What if she can't trust me? He sank into a chair, covering his face with his hands. The memories of their past, the arguments, the separation, the years of longing, washed over him. The weight of responsibility and the depth of his love pressed down on him like a physical force. I can't hide behind pride anymore, he murmured. I have to be honest, even if it hurts. I have to show her that I'm different, that I've changed. By mid-morning, the twins had awakened, their laughter tentatively filling the cabin with lightness. Martha and Daniel sat at opposite ends of the room, avoiding eye contact, but both aware of the emotional chasm between them. Finally, Daniel spoke softly, breaking the silence. Martha, I know I've hurt you. I know I've made mistakes that can't be undone. But I can't. I can't let us end like this. Not again. Martha's hands trembled as she held Noah. I don't know if I can trust you. Every time I feel close, you vanish. I'm scared of being hurt again. Daniel took a slow, steady breath. I understand. And I can't erase the past. But I can show you every day that I'm here now, that I won't leave, that I want to be part of your lives for real. Her eyes met his, searching for honesty, for the truth behind the words. She could see it, raw, trembling, vulnerable honesty. The twins ran over, interrupting the tense moment, and Daniel scooped them up, holding them close. Martha watched, her heart softening. This man, the man who had left her so long ago, was now capable of care, patience, and love. She walked over, standing beside him, her hand brushing against his. If I try, you have to promise me something. Anything, he said immediately. Promise me you won't disappear. Promise me you'll be here for them and for me. Always. Daniel's eyes glistened. I promise, he whispered. His hand found hers, their fingers entwining, a small but powerful gesture of connection and trust. Hours passed in quiet conversation, the twins napping nearby. They spoke honestly about fears, regrets, hopes, and dreams. Daniel shared his renewed perspective on life, wealth, and love. Martha shared the challenges of raising twins alone, the scars, and the strength she had cultivated. It was a conversation filled with emotional depth, truth, and unspoken longing. The tension that had defined gradually melted, replaced with tentative hope. Finally, Martha exhaled slowly, her chest heaving with the weight of her decision. I choose thus. I choose to try, but we take it one day at a time. No rushing, no pretending everything is fine. We rebuild carefully. Daniel felt a lump in his throat, a mixture of relief and overwhelming joy. That's all I need, he said. One day at a time together. The moment was not perfect, but it was real. Fragile, tender, and full of potential. A true emotional turning point. Over the next hours, small gestures cemented the choice. Daniel gently brushing Lily's hair back while whispering a joke to make her laugh. Martha sharing a smile with him while watching Noah paint. Feeling warmth she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Quiet touches, hands brushing a lingering hug, whispered reassurances, building trust and intimacy gradually. The cabin, once a place of tension and fear, had transformed into a sanctuary of possibility, love, and reconciliation. Comment below. Would you have the courage to forgive and rebuild love after years of pain? What would your choice be in Martha's shoes? Sunlight poured through the cabin windows, spilling warmth over the small, cozy space. The twins were awake, their laughter bouncing off the walls as they built towers from blocks. The morning was calm, peaceful, and yet full of subtle anticipation, as if the universe itself knew this was a moment of reconciliation. Daniel entered the room quietly, holding 2 mugs of cocoa. He handed one to Martha, who accepted it with a tentative smile. Their fingers brushed as they met the handle, and neither pulled away. The twins ran up to Daniel, throwing their arms around him. "Daddy! Daddy!" Lily exclaimed. Noah followed, hugging him tightly. Martha's eyes glistened as she watched the scene. A perfect echo of the bond forming between father and children. A bond that had once seemed impossible. After breakfast, Daniel suggested a walk through the retreat's garden, a familiar place where so many of their fragile moments had begun. The dew-kissed grass and scent of blooming flowers mirrored the freshness of their renewed connection. Martha held one of Lily's hands, while Daniel held Noah's. For a moment, it was a perfect tableau of family, a vision of what love at last could look like. "Remember this spot?" Daniel asked softly, stopping near a small fountain. It was here, weeks ago, that he had first tried to reconnect after the forced proximity of the cabin. Martha nodded, a soft smile tugging at her lips. "I remember. You scared me half to death that day, trying to help me with the twins." Daniel chuckled, genuine and warm. "I was terrified too. Terrified of losing you again." Her gaze softened. "I almost did lose hope. But you fought. And I'm ready to fight with you now." Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn photo of Martha from her pregnancy, the same one that had surfaced earlier. "I kept this," he said quietly. "All these years, it reminded me of what I lost, and what I should have protected instead of abandoning." Martha's hand went to her chest. "I didn't think anyone would remember, or care." "I do," he said firmly. "I remember every choice I should have made, and every day I've regretted leaving. I'll never let that happen again." The twins, sensing the emotion in the air, hugged both parents. The sight, a visual echo of love and family unity, solidified the emotional closure of the story. Under the dappled sunlight of the garden, Daniel took Martha's hands in his. His voice was low, sincere, and trembling with emotion. "Martha, I know I don't deserve it, but I love you. I've always loved you. I've learned what truly matters. Family love presence. You and the twins, you are my everything." Martha's lips quivered. "Daniel, I love you too. And I've been scared, yes, but I've also never stopped hoping that one day, you'd choose us." They embraced slowly, holding on to the moment as though it could last forever. No words were needed. Their hearts spoke louder than anything. Later, back in the cabin, the family prepared a simple breakfast together. Daniel helped Noah with his cereal, while Martha brushed Lily's hair. Their actions were effortless, natural, and full of the ease that only love and trust can create. "I think we're finally a team," Daniel said, smiling. Martha nodded. "Yes, a real team. No running, no hiding. Just us together." The twins cheered, their laughter a perfect soundtrack to this emotional triumph. Martha and Daniel sat together that evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of gold and pink. The cabin was quiet, save for the gentle hum of the twins sleeping nearby. Martha rested her head on Daniel's shoulder. "It's strange how much pain can exist alongside hope." Daniel kissed her hair softly. "Pain taught us. Hope brought us back. And now love carries us forward." Their past, full of mistakes and regrets, had forged a stronger, more resilient bond. Every moment of fear, pride, and misunderstanding had led them here. Toward each other, and toward the family they were meant to be. The next morning, Daniel held the twins while Martha prepared breakfast. The sunlight streamed in, warm and promising. "I can't believe we made it," Martha said softly, watching the tiny hands of the children clutch Daniel's shirt. "We did," Daniel replied. "And we'll keep making it, every day. Together." The twins squealed happily, tugging both parents into a messy, joyful hug. The scene encapsulated the central theme of the story: unexpected love, redemption, and reunion. Daniel and Martha had navigated betrayal, misunderstanding, and fear. But now they were stronger, united, and ready to face the future as a family. Comment below. Did Daniel and Martha deserve a second chance? What part of their journey touched your heart the most? Thank you so much for watching this story all the way to the end. Your time, your support, and your presence here mean more than words can say. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or kept you watching, please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss a new upload. Until next time, stay blessed, stay strong, and keep believing in love. See you in the next story.